Hello, neighbor. This is Novels and Bits podcast, and I am your favorite host, Chizoba Katie. How are we doing? This is the fourth book of the Shatter series. Seriously, the action has been really picking up. So this is the fourth book, and then we're going to do the fifth book, and then we'll have another story. And I'm ending internship soon. You know what that means? 2 episodes a week. Anyways, let's not get ahead of ourselves. The most important thing is that you're listening and we're hanging out. So thank you so much for being here. Anyway, let's get into this because we're about to meet new characters and it's a different plot of twist and it's crazy amazing. In the last book, where the last book ended, Juliet succeeded in killing Anderson. That is, he is both Warner's dad and Adam's dad and James's dad and, the Supreme Commander of North America. So Juliet killed him and declared herself the new Supreme Commander, right? So this is exactly 16 days since that happened. That's the time that's passed. She is in Sector 45. That's where she made her base instead of going to the capital, wherever that is. And in all these 16 days, there's not been a word from the rest of the world. You would expect that, she killed a Supreme Commander. The other 5 Supreme Commanders in the world will come for her. Nothing. Nobody's doing anything. Everybody's just like quiet, too quiet. It's as though they're pretending that nothing happened, and that's just nerve-wracking. Also, Castle has been all in Juliet's head, telling her, you have the advantage with your nearly invisible skin, your superhuman strength. You should make the first move. So she does. She sends out an invite for a conference for international leaders. It's only Oceania that actually replies and says they'll be coming. Dun, dun, dun. Meanwhile, Warner, that's Aaron, he's dealing with the reality that he's an orphan. He's sad, but he doesn't know how to communicate that grief. So he's mostly in solitude. He's taking showers, taking long walks, thinking. He might have hated his dad, but there was also unrequited affection there, as where he had affection for his dad and it was never reciprocated. Anyway, because he's trying to bond with Juliet's friends, Warner, he lets Kenji cut his hair. And the result is terrible, actually so hilarious, that Warner is forced to shave off the rest of his hair. So he goes unshaved head here. That's another thing on TikTok and stuff. And this is the last of his vanity gone. He's lost weight and he keeps denying something is wrong with him whenever Juliet asks. Now, after Kenji misses breakfast with Juliet, because he normally takes breakfast with Juliet, Adam, who she's been very awkward around, informs her that Castle wants to see her. It turns out that Kenji's with Castle and they've been discussing cows. The reestablishment has hidden away on acres of land. The methane from the cow poop is giving away the exact location of these cows. Now, along with Juliet, Castle dissects the nature of the RSVP from Oceania. That is the response they got that they'll come for the conference. It was informal. It was like, can't wait to see you. It doesn't say meet here. Now, this shows just how out of depth Juliet is concerning the reestablishment. She doesn't even know these people, know the reestablishment or anything about it. Now, the reestablishment, they're old family friends of Warner. The children of the current leaders of the world were his playmates, and those families are crazier than his. They want to hear from him before responding to Juliet's invite. He'd hoped they'd continue to pretend as though nothing has changed. He'd hoped they'd cut him off. Unfortunately, children of a certain Ibrahim are en route. By being en route, they're upholding old family traditions, which is that any of them can show up uninvited at any time. You get any of the Supreme Commanders can show up uninvited to any of the Supreme Commanders' territory. Now, Warner is mad to learn this. He now goes to alert Juliet, but he runs into Adam, who looks terrible. He looks like Warner feels. Since Adam only has Warner, who can relate to what he's going through, they're like, yo, please, can we talk? Now, Juliet and Kenji, they're taking a walk in the snow. It's her moment to unpack how Castle is being annoying by suggesting she doesn't know much about Warner's past. Kenji points out, that's kind of true, because Warner doesn't do open communication and touchy-feeling. Yes, he's been teaching Juliet a lot about being Madam Supreme. That's what Delalu calls her. That is Warner's grandpa and officer, Delalu. That's what he calls Juliet, Madam Supreme. But it's not enough. Now, Juliet didn't even graduate high school, and now she's stuck with reading 554 reports from the other sectors daily. She wakes at 4 a.m. daily and barely gets a thing done. In her lowest moment, she wishes Anderson would just come back and take back this burden. I mean, he was very talented at leadership. So this is that thing they were fearing. It's not enough to kill a leader, but you need to train somebody to replace that leader. Now the bros are talking on the rooftop. That's Warner and Adam. It's a shocker to Warner that Adam has deep emotions and he's vocal about it. Like he's talking about how he feels and stuff. Warner has always assumed that this dude is a robot because of his disabling ability. Even now, as Warner is apologizing to Adam again for trying to kill him, Warner can't sense anything coming from him. Like, how is this guy feeling about this thing? He can't. You get? But Adam's feelings are deep. You get? But Warner can't sense them because, he relies on that, his gift of sensing emotions, not like reading body language or anything. And for someone with a disabling gift like Adam, it's like, he just seems shut off. Now, the death of their dad, Anderson, really messed the brothers up. James, however, does not know that he just lost a dad. They have to keep Kate Bro away from all this drama and the fact that their dad was a monster. Adam also goes, Juliet and you ain't weird. I was a jackass at the end because I had issues with people leaving me behind. Right now, my priority is family, bro. Now, Juliet takes a detour because she enjoys being outdoors in nature. She misses things about how life used to be. That's what she tells Kenji. And Kenji goes like, things weren't all that great before their establishment though. People were divided, ripe for conquering. It leads Kenji to opening up about how his parents faced racism. If you didn't know, please know it by now. I know it's quite far long in the series for me to be doing this. Kenji is Japanese. He's Asian. His parents immigrated into the States before the establishment took over and stuff. So they faced racism. In a scuffle like that, based on this whole racism issue, someone shot his parents, Kenji's parents, with his dad's own gun. Kenji was 7 years old. He ran away from the orphanage when he was 8 years old. He met Castle when he was 9. And this is the first time he's talking about any of this, this whole thing he faced. Now, meanwhile, Warner cleared out the entire 15th floor of the base so that Juliet and her friends, can move in there. Or rather, her team, it can be their offices. It took a lot of work to restructure, but Warner is a guy built to lead. Also, he wanted them out of his private quarters because now that they are free to roam about and not just be confined to the training grounds, they bust into his room whenever because there's an elevator that directly takes people up to his room now. And it's been driving him nuts. Like, what kind of lack of privacy is this? Like, people should just get out of my space. Anyway, the team, they'll be moving in the next day. And Juliet is scoping out the work done so far. Like, they are restructuring the place, putting down demarcations and stuff to make it, like, livable, you get. So she's kind of just, she's there and she's just scoping out the work there when Delalu now shows up to say, Madam Supreme or Supreme Commander, the kid of the Commander of Asia is here and wants to see you. Juliet accepts, like, okay, I'll go see him. But Castle wants her to wait, let Warner come back, then you and Warner can go and see him. However, Juliet doesn't trust Castle right now after he made her feel small. And he's telling her this thing in front of people. Like, hey, wait for Warner to come before you can see this person. It's making her look like, I can't even handle myself. I need Warner for everything. She's like, no, that she's going to go and see the person right now. She shouts on to Kenji and goes, you won't let me go alone, right? As per bestie, don't do this to me. Just how you go with me. It might be for me bravado outside, but I know, please go with me. And Kenji agrees. Meanwhile, Warner is up in the sky. He's in the chopper because that's the only way to tap out right now. Before, it used to be the simulation room on the ground. But since soldiers have been moved around, that is out of the question. Right now, his relationship with Juliet is only 19 days old, 19. Now, bringing up his past would most likely ruin it. That's why he's not really talked about it. I mean, they are still babies in this relationship thing. They've not had time to actually sink into the whole thing. Because how does he tell her his own father cut his leg when he was 10 years old and asked him to suture it, or he learned to shoot 2 years earlier than his peers, so that when he was only 16 and they asked them, the Supreme Commanders asked their children to shoot one another to understand how gunshot wounds feel, he shot all his friends before they all could blink. And this was the only time his father looked at him as though he might be proud of him. And that made him want to throw up. Also, when he was 11 years, around 11 or thereabout, his father broke his arm and abandoned him in the wild for 2 weeks like that as per survive. Even as his father is dead right now, Anderson, his friends, the other Supreme Commanders, don't even seem to care. Instead, they're seeking Warner out for a pound of flesh. So that's all the things Warner is trying to clear his head around. Now, Juliet is digging through her armor for any clothes that is going to make her appear powerful before he's son of a Supreme Commander. Kenji thinks, I really do think this is one of those cases where you may not want to, but you really need to rely on Warner. He knows this grounds more than you. Because here's the thing, children of Supreme Commanders are just like Supreme Commanders. They're mercenaries. They are groomed to take their parents' places after all. They're future supreme commanders. Now Juliet goes, let me think about it. Nah, I'll go. I've got this. And I do not think that's a good idea. Me who was reading this, I'm like, what are you doing? What? Castle cashes up to Warner and informs him Haider Ibrahim is here. Haider Ibrahim, that's a son of a supreme commander of Asia. Now Warner just replies, he's early. Now, while he's thinking the presence of all these guests is about him, that he committed treason, by housing rebels, letting them kill his dad and all those things, Castle now breaks his bubble like, your father never told you the truth about Miss Ferris, did he? That is about Juliet, about her parents. The reestablishment are here to take her back. As far this is not about you, this is about her. What? Now, the meeting, that is, Juliet is meeting with Haider right now, and it's weird. Because for Haider, he was expressing a lethal, crazed person. I mean, anybody who's capable of killing a supreme commander should be cool, right? But then, Juliet is tiny and cute, and she even waves at him. Thankfully, it's Kenji that is there to look like personal guard that is looking fiery, Regardless, Haider voluntarily reaches for Juliet's hand twice, and she wonders, hasn't he heard about me? Yes, it's true she can control her powers now, but there was a time she couldn't. And Haider keeps looking at her as though he's confused. Even without that, he still imposes himself. He goes, I'll be around for a couple weeks, brought my own lodgings with me, and yeah, let's have dinner. And he saunters off. Okay. Warner didn't interrupt this meeting because he didn't want to make Juliet appear as the kind of leader who doesn't know what she's doing. Instead, he's in their bedroom, staring at what used to be his father's stuff. He needs the answers to burning questions, yet he can't bring himself to go through it just yet. Juliet returns from the meeting and she's sort of sheepish. She relays her fears about how she's not good enough to lead, whereas he is. Oh, he stops her. He tells her she can learn. He does wonder what leadership actually entails. Now, let me say it as he said it. Being a leader is a thankless occupation. Few will ever be grateful for what you do or for the changes you implement. Their memories will be short, convenient. Your every success will be scrutinized. Your accomplishments will be brushed aside, breeding only greater expectations from those around you. Your power will push you further away from your friends. You'll be made to feel lonely, lost. You will long for validation from those you once admired, agonizing between pleasing old friends and doing what is right. But you must never, ever let the idiots into your head. They'll only lead you astray. And then the iconic TikTok line comes out. Idiots are highly flammable, love. Let them all burn in hell. Just like that, Juliet is boasted and the temperature suddenly charges, okay, now that we've gotten the serious stuff out of the way. Hello, baby. How you doing? And they end up doing what couples do. I really don't know how a scene that isn't explicit at all has the power to ignite flames in my belly and everywhere else. That's how good it is whenever it is to the chemistry, even when they describe it. It's sizzling. Now, by the time Juliet rejoins Kenji, she's 2 hours late and he knows exactly what she's been up to. This is her chicks turning 50 Shades of Pink. Juliet was supposed to ask Warner in-depth questions about Haider, what to expect from him at dinner, She forgot because it got sidetracked. Now, Kenji and Juliet have to go back to Warner's room to ask again, what to expect from Haider. Apparently, Haider isn't as competent as his sister, Nazeera. We're going to meet her. He is arrogant, and most of his actions stem from fear. He also lies easily, and a liar is dangerous, okay? His sister is the one to watch out for. Essentially, that's what Warner debriefs them on. Now, at dinner, they find out that Nazeera actually came with her brother Haider, although she did not come to that first meeting with him. She has a diamond piercing underneath her bottom lip, and she has 2 more above her right eyebrow. You'll probably see her images when I'm promoting this episode, She's dark-skinned, big eyes, and she's wearing a silk shawl around her head. That's open rebellion. Since the establishment banned any and every symbol of religion. That's like wearing a hijab, silk scarf. That's like wearing a hijab. She's wearing a hijab. So when Warner asks about this, the silk scarf is new, okay? And she doesn't answer. He's prepared to move on from it. Okay, she doesn't want to answer. That's cool. But Kenji pushes. He's talking while eating, which reverses Warner. Kenji now calls it, so what's the scarf thing? Because he doesn't know what it's called. He doesn't know it's called a hijab or anything. But Nazeera is getting angry now. Based on Kenji's poking, pretty. This is when another popular TikTok line busts out, She now goes, men always think they have an opinion about how women should dress. Cover up, wear too little. But do you know what I think? She gives 2 middle fingers. Kenji starts apologizing, but she's already up on her feet and moving like someone born into power and privilege. Kenji starts arguing with Warner after she leaves. And Kenji's now telling Warner, you caused this. Why did you ask? One is like, dude, you pursued it. I mean, I did not ask again. You're the one that kept asking and asking. Juliet is feeling self-conscious about her pink sweater. She's like plucking at it. And Haider excuses himself. He now says, my sister doesn't understand that none of us has no choice. Baba insisted she comes. He has accented English, unlike Nazeera, whose English is accent-free. Also, Juliet learned tonight because when I was speaking Arabic with Nazeera and Haider, and she was surprised, like, yo, you can speak Arabic? And that's when, like, oh, he can speak 7 languages. Like, I did not know my boyfriend can speak 7 languages. Now, Kenji and Juliet, they're walking back to Warner's rooms. It's the first time she was intimidated by a girl before. That's what she's thinking. She's like, yo, how did Nazeera become so confident and unbothered? Juliet grew up on sneers and jests, no encouragement from anyone whatsoever. Would she have been different today if that hadn't been the case? To Kenji, she gives a fairly unbiased opinion about, okay, these 2 people we just met. Haider is loud, and why Nazeera might be rebelling against daddy publicly. There is no telling her intentions, so I really can't give her too much credit. Now, next thing they know though, Nazeera is in that hallway where Juliet and Kenji are. She lost her way. She's friendly, and Juliet finds herself reciprocating the same energy because she's never actually really had a female friend before. Now, however, Kenji gets weird. Juliet says, hey, could you show Nazeera the way? He's like, I'm sorry about dinner. Your scarf is pretty cool. What material is it? Can I get your number or something? Nazeera is both amused and disgusted at the same time. So after Juliet now gives her directions and Nazeera leaves, Juliet now turns to Kenji, and Kenji just admits, I'm in love. This has never happened before. And she's like, yo, you gave me so much for being hormonal over Adam and Warner, but look at you right now. Juliet calls Aaron Warner whenever she's thinking about him or when she's talking to someone about him. But in private, when it's just both of them, she calls him Aaron. Now, the following morning, 3 additional people are on a walk with Kenji and Juliet. There is Nazeera, there is Haider, and there is Warner, because Warner cannot leave her alone with Nazeera and Haider, knowing how dangerous they are. Kenji and Nazeera fall behind, and the other 3 are up front. There's this awkward silence. Anyway, Haider mentions an upcoming symposium that it's biannual. Anderson doesn't normally attend in the past because of the whole, I'm scary if I don't show my face. But Juliet is going to be attending. Except she doesn't know it's in 2 days. The whole leadership thing has been overwhelming. It comes with a lot of wealth and privilege, but also loads, like a truckload of responsibility. Warner seriously doesn't envy her. He doesn't want the job. It requires people's skills too, where you've got to win them over in a blink and kill them in that time too if necessary. Seriously. Now, Haider pulls Warner away because he's highly displeased. Like, after meeting Juliet, he's like, now telling Warner, you fell in love with a child and turned your back on us for her. It dawns on Warner the Supreme Commanders are sending their children to infiltrate North America for one reason. Let's find out how easy it would be to destroy them. When Haider grabs Warner's arm, Juliet turns scary. She now tells Haider, touch him again and I'll rip your heart out. Haider laughs. This is more like what he was expecting. When they said, ooh, let me go meet this Juliet that killed Anderson. He was expecting this scary part of her, okay? Warner and Haider, who are certainly overdressed for the occasion. They're both wearing suits. Haider is in this chain link shirt, like showing off his perfectly toned body. I mean, imagine an Arabian. That's how Haider is. All those super handsome Arabians. You get. Nazeera asks for clearance to walk around the sector more, but Kenji, and he's already so busy with so much. He says, hey, instead of you walking around on your own, let me accompany you. Juliet is now arguing with Kenji to Nazeera's hearing. You are busy. You cannot do what you are saying. You get? And you have obvious feelings for Nazeera. So Nazeera now makes it clear to Kenji, look, we're not happening. Kenji now leaves Juliet alone. You know, that, okay, you can return to base. I actually have to get back there. I'm doing some things there. Now she's by herself with 6 soldiers who shadow her constantly. So it's not like she's unguarded or unprotected. She's experimenting with turning her powers on and off. She's like letting sand sift through her hand, and you know, when it's not, it's sifting normally, and when it dissolves to more granules, you know, that's what she's doing. Suddenly she feels pain in the back. She's shot. She turns the power on, and other bullets that get shot at her bounce off. But the one that hit her first must be poisoned because she's going down fast. Someone's hand is around her neck, cutting off her hair. That's the next thing she knows. You get, and it's all happening so fast. But suddenly, she hears a bone crack. Like the person holding her, that man, whoever he is, his neck. Nazeera offs the man and is now carrying Juliet to safety, maybe. The man is a soldier from a neighboring sector. As no one can touch Juliet in her injured state because then she doesn't have any control of whether she can keep the powers on or off. So she's fully lethal whenever she's injured. It's only Warner that can touch her in an injured state. And like before, when she was almost dying, he communicates healing gifts to her. The twins is healing gifts. He passes it into her body. So she's sleeping it off. He's frustrated she wasn't careful enough. Castle sits beside him and is now telling him that, Warner, you're the person meant to lead. You're the person who's supposed to have Juliet's position. You're not a clueless, angry child like Juliet. And there was something Warner did to prove himself so he could lead Sector 45 for 2 entire years. He obeyed without questions. A young woman was kept, tortured, and experimented on. That young woman is Emmeline, Juliet's older sister. Even now, Emmeline is held in a facility of high security. Juliet was the same. That is, she's an experiment. She still is. But the reason why they left her out in the open was to see, okay, how is her kids going to interact with the environment? But now that the establishment is seeing that she's getting out of hand, they're actively seeking to end her. So Warner's part in all of this, Castle is telling him, you have to tell her the truth yourself. Because if she finds out elsewhere, rage. Castle has seen her almost destroy Omega Points before over an experiment. He reveals that there are more underground resistance movements. Word has traveled through all those underground movements to him that the Supreme Commanders have ordered Sector 45 to be destroyed. Now, Juliet is in a haze. She remembers stealing what became her journal. And then even in her state of healing and sleeping and coming out of it, a voice in the room is trying to tell her something. And she's disoriented. It said how you can't trust anybody. You have to find out the truth. This is that. And she's disoriented. Now, Warner finally goes through his father's files. It's all true. Emmeline, that's Juliet's older sister, was underwater for so long that by the time Warner met her, she didn't even look human. This lady, this young woman, Emmeline, has been continuously tortured for 12 years to date. Juliet is considered a failed experiment by the reestablishment. That is in Anderson's notes. That's what he's considering her as. Now, all Supreme Commanders, they've always known of her. Now, the orders are to kill her. Juliet never had a chance. All this thing that they're thinking, oh, she had a chance to beat her life. He's like, nope, Warner has to tell her his role in it, and he has to be prepared to lose her forever. It was her sister that was discovered first. She was the first unnatural, like the first person with powers discovered. Because when they were younger, Emmeline had insane psychokinesis abilities. She would just get angry as a child and things are just like crash and moving, It was insane. Now, her bed parents, that is the bed parents of Juliet and Emmeline, they're fanatic believers in the reestablishment. They practically handed their children over to the reestablishment. That's how the other unnatural ones were discovered, other people with powers. The useful ones were kept for use, obviously, while the others, the ones that had abilities that were not considered so useful, were killed off. Now, reestablishment is built on these unnaturals, these people who have powers. This is where this episode ends. We went so far into the story so much. This is it. It's really picking up. So we're going to have the next episode next week. And yeah, we'll have some more episodes and we're just going to be like, okay, series, we know enough of you. We're feeling you. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to share this episode to someone you think would enjoy it. Please leave a review whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or leave a comment anywhere else you are, get in touch. Listen on other platforms. All those options are all available. Thank you so much. See ya, neighbor.